Hello, and welcome to Brand Clarity by Visions2images, where we focus on strategy and business development for entrepreneurs at all different levels through branding and digital marketing techniques. Susie Liberatore is the founder and art director of Visions2images Creative Services, LLC. For the last decade, she has personally been instrumental in bridging gaps between the global digital market and neighborhood locations for some of the biggest brands around. Growth is possible for even a single location with the right professional branding techniques and Susie's signature strategies of Visions2images. Stand out from your competitors and bring your visions to life while watching your sales skyrocket. Your host for this is Susie Liberatore, owner of Visions2images. Hello, everybody. Happy 2022. Oh my goodness. It feels like a new year. It feels like everything has just kind of been great in December. I was able to take some time off and to really fine tune and focus on personal life, business life, all of this stuff, right? And I'm so excited to be back into the studio and recording and, sharing so much great stuff in 2022. I'm launching a lot of great stuff. But I wanted to kind of talk to you today about your brand voice. A couple of weeks ago when I was on the phone with a client, I said, what are you struggling with? Because I coach her and I train her. Her thing was that she said, I don't know what to write for my social post. I don't know what to write for my email. And I said, well, have you thought about outsourcing it? And her response was, yeah, but my voice would be lost if I hired somebody. And it got me thinking, I'm sure many people think about this and are struggling and they have that mind block that they don't want to outsource because they think it's going to lose their voice. And that's totally not the case, right? I mean, I have different voices for all of my clients, and we do that in a strategic way. So I kind of wanted to share with you today some ideas about how to really dive in and what I typically also do with clients when they come to me and say, I don't know what my brand voice is. I don't know what to post. I don't know how to post, right? So the biggest thing before you can even decide what to post is understanding what your brand voice is. So it's about your personality and how you communicate, right? So it makes you stand out from your competitors. It gives you that unique perspective and it creates stronger brand loyalty. So you really need to understand your brand as a whole before you can even really get the bang for your buck for all of the content. So how do you create this brand voice, right? That's the biggest thing everybody's always asking. Well, how do I do this? How do I do all of these things? Especially if you want to do it yourself. If you want to hire somebody, it's the same thing. We just do it for you. So it's a strategy that we go through and you can obviously go through as well. You always start with your company's mission and value statement because that is the underlining piece of what your business is about. And from there, we build upon different pieces, right? And the other thing when I talk about these pieces is I always talk about core values. I'm in a mastermind where we talk about all of these things all the time. And I actually defined all of my stuff in 2021 so that I was able to create my persona for my brand as well. And then I started to build with my clients again. And it's a lot of times, sometimes you have to revisit over and over again to see if things have changed, like your voice, your mission, your value statement. So understanding first and foremost, the foundation of your brand and the voice is critical. So my mission statement for Visions2images is Visions2images is the agency name for small businesses such as franchises and corporations. We take pride in excelling in new branding and marketing techniques to increase visibility and lead generation. So that is always my bread and butter. That's what I talk about on social media. That's what I talk about all the time. And I create different content pieces based on that statement. So then I developed core values. And what I did was create the acronym for visions, because that's in my name. Now you can do it however you want to do it. But what I put together is V is for visionary. So planning brands with imagination or wisdom. Intelligence, response to varying digital marketing solutions to problem solve visually. Successful, having achieved profit and overall brand growth. Innovator, introduces new methods, ideas, and techniques to improve branding. Optimist, we are confident about the future and success of our clients. Networking, create a way for businesses to interact with others to exchange information and develop contacts. shares. Client success is our growth, and we share a portion of success together. So whenever I create content, I always have all of those pieces in the back of my mind because that's my brand voice and my mission, right? So that's the foundation and the core. And so then from there, you really want to kind of also research your audience. And when you know your audience, I talk about audiences all the time. So when you know your audience, it's so important to have and identify so that you can have successful marketing at all times. So when you identify your audience, you can really understand the voice that they want to hear, right? I always talk about, child services, right? So daycares, preschools, whatever. Their voices are going to be more geared towards parents, but they're still professional. But they also have that charisma for caring for them and understanding the concerns of parents. Whereas if you go to a bar or a restaurant, their voices are going to be completely different in a sense where they're going to have some fun energy and they're going to have a little bit more laid back personality as well. And then a lawyer, of course, is going to be completely different than all of those, where they're going to be highly professional, they're going to be intelligent, and they're going to be strategic, right? And we want to make sure as the lawyer firm that we don't talk about negative things and politics and all the things that can get us in trouble. So we identify those pieces. Hey there, I want to interrupt this episode with a quick message. If you're listening to this podcast episode and want to learn about branding your franchise or small business, then go to brandingbridge.com. That's branding-bridge.com. The next piece that I always like to kind of talk about is look at the best performing pieces and why they work, right? So I always look at, and if you're new to this social media stuff, you're not going to be able to know this answer right away. So it's going to take time. But when you have a business established and you've been on social media, you've been sending out emails, I always track the data and the analytics. I always consider which pieces performed well and why, right? I don't always have the answers. However, when I can really dive in and see the analytics and data, I can see, okay, this might have worked because of this. Let's push it out and let's keep topics like this. I actually had a client who was able to post about a blog. She had a blog post and she put it out there. And it was about healthy and well-being. And it was different than the other posts she had. But what happened is there was a lot of traffic to her blog post, a lot of engagement on her social media post, and overall just organic reach. I told her, okay, let's mark this because I'm coaching her. I said, let's mark this. Why was this piece so important? And why did it get so much more than the other pieces? I said, we need to talk about more topics like this and break it up into segments. So we started to brainstorm ways to really kind of dive in about what content was going to work for her in the future as well as now. So then the other piece is make a list of do's and don'ts. So what I mean by that is, like I talked about with the lawyer company, we don't want to use politics. We don't want to talk about hot topics that people might get stressed. The lawyer, we don't want it to be about politics. We don't want it to be about all of the little stuff that can make them make or break and make somebody angry and upset, right? We have to really resonate with them and educate them. So we don't want to post about politics. We do want to post about education and here's topics and here's how we can help you. And if you're struggling with this is what you can do. Topics like that. For example, I have a fitness client who we talk about, we want to make sure we post about like nutrition and calorie intake, but we don't want to post, here's what you should and shouldn't do because we want them to come to them. So we really make it strategic in a sense and make sure that it resonates with them. So there's like a do and a don't mixed in together with that. So you really want to identify what you do and don't want to post about. For my business, for Visions to Images, we make sure that, we don't post about what you should and shouldn't do necessarily, AKA like if a competitor says you should do this, you shouldn't do that. Like we don't bash upon other people ever. It's not fun. It's not nice. We make sure if we do say, do this, we have sources that can back up our reasoning for it. And a lot of times it's more of, did you know that 50% blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like making that as a topic and then reversing it so that it makes more sense to people. So those are kind of the things. And this is kind of like a brand voice system. And there's plenty of other ways to really dive in, right? I mean, I talk about using keywords. What would pinpoint people to resonate with them. There's tons of techniques and strategies that we use in our agency when we either want to identify these problems for people and then they implement it themselves. But also, if you want to hire an agency like Visions2images, it's important to have this foundation built so that you can literally hand it off to somebody like the agency and they know, okay, here's what we do, here's what we don't do, here's the foundation. And they can build upon it and create amazing strategies and techniques for your campaign. I kind of wanted to talk about this topic because I've heard it from a few different people. How do you create a voice for all of these different clients? How does that work, right? And so this is the basic outline of how that can work for anybody, whether you're doing it yourself or hiring an agency. An agency will go into much, much more detail if you hire them to create your brand message and brand voice. But this is just a starting point. So I hope you guys are having an amazing start to 2022 and that this was a great value for you to kind of understand how to take it to the next level with your brand messaging. Thank you, everybody, for listening in on today's Brand Clarity episode with Susie Liberatore. 2 things. First and foremost, please, if you liked this episode, please subscribe and leave some positive reviews. Also, don't forget to sign up for Stop Sending Your Customers to the Competition and get my insider secrets to compelling branding that converts. You can find that at branding-bridge.com. It's a free workbook for you to check out right now, all of the branding techniques and strategies that I use for my paying clients.